Okay, so today's a new day of videotaping. Beautiful Anna behind the camera as usual. And this is my newest pony in training to sell. It is September. It's September of 2021. I was forgetting the 20 part and saying 2021. Today, the reason he's wiggling so much is I have treats in this hand, and he knows it. So that's why he's wiggling around so much. So I'll give him an excuse for how much he's wiggling around right now because of the treats in this hand. I'll show them to you guys, but not to the pony. So what I'd like to do first with Miss Anna is a segment on bridling. So we did do a segment on saddle fit. I did it for the dressage saddle. I know a lot of you people, you viewers, are not using a dressage saddle. So I should do a little segment on the hunt saddles and on the western saddles as well. I'm not sure if I will, but I did a segment on saddle fit for a dressage saddle. So what I thought I would do first today is a bridle and bridling segment. So let me just introduce again, Mr. Twirl. So Twirl is my newest addition. He's been here about half a month, about 2 weeks. He's precious, as you can see. He's a pony. He's about 14 hands. He's about 10 years old. He is a blue roan Pinto pony. He's a grade pony. He's ranch bred. You'll see he has a tattoo, a brand, not a tattoo. He has a brand. There it is, right there. Can you see it? Okay, good. He has a brand on his shoulder, so he was clearly what we call ranch bred, but he's unregistered. Gosh only knows what he is. I'll tell you guys what I think he is from looking at him. What I think he is breed-wise, when you watch him go, you haven't seen him go yet, but when you watch him go, he presents himself with a very high neck, and he's actually a really, really big sport pony mover. He's actually an excellent mover. Often these ponies are sort of mediocre movers. This thing moves like a performance pony. So that, with the way he presents himself really uphill, I see Hackney Pony. So I think there's a little Hackney Pony in him. I think there's some paint because clearly, and he's ranch bred. So I'm assuming paint. Also, I think there's some Welsh Pony in him. So my guess is he's probably a little bit of Hackney Pony, a little bit of Welsh Pony, and some paint horse. Also, he came from Texas. And so the paint horse part kind of fits into that as well. So that's what we're thinking he is breed-wise. He's adorable. He is precious. He's perfect. He came as a Gymkhana, Western, rodeo, trail. I can do anything with any child pony. Long mane. We call it that long Mustang mane. Sorry, he's looking for the treats. He has to wait. I usually don't have the treats in my hand because they do this, but I'm in preparation for the video segment I'm about to do on bridling. I did put it in my hand. So just a heads up, you guys, I would not, I would not put treats in your hand because they do this. I don't even put treats in my pocket because they do this. So, again, I put it in my hand just because I was in preparation for the segment we're about to do. And he's very aware of that. What was I going to say about you, sweet pony? I was going to say something else. Oh, he came from Texas. I think that's what I was going to say, is he came from Texas. Oh, I remember. So he was a Western pony. Western runaround, Gymkhana, everything pony. I have pictures to prove it. They're fabulous. You'll see that when I run his full ad in a couple weeks. But we decided to turn him into a fancy schmancy English pony. So because of his movement, he's a super fantastic mover. because I have a picture of him jumping in a Western saddle, and even in the Western saddle with a kid that's probably never jumped before, his front legs are really typey and up and even and beautiful. So his form over fences was gorgeous, even though he was in the worst of circumstances. So that in conjunction with what a fantastic mover he is, in conjunction with that's where the money is. And she spent too much for him. She brought him over from Texas. She spent too much for him. Then, of course, there's the shipping costs. And when he arrived, she realized that he was not the pony that she thought he was going to be. And so after a couple months of working with him, with her two daughters, age 5 and 8, she realized it wasn't a good match. So he went and hung out in her pasture for about a month. And then he came to me. She was waiting to bring him to me, and I was full. So he hung out for a month waiting for me. As you can see, he's beyond precious. Okay, so that's so in accordance with that, I shortened his mane. I gave him a pony mane, an English pony mane. So we shortened his mane so he looked the part, and I changed his name. So he came with the name Apache, but Apache feels like a Western pony. So I wanted to give him a more English name to go along with his new persona. And so because of his forehead, can you see he's got a whirl here that I thought looked like a cyclone. So I thought about calling him Cyclone, but the connotations are not good. So then I thought about calling him Whirl. But even those connotations aren't great because you don't really want a pony whirling out from under your child. So, oh, that's cute. And so instead I named him Twirl. So his name is Twirl, which I love. I think it suits him beautifully. I think it's a great pony name. And his owner, his current owner who's selling him, loves it. So this is Mr. Twirl. Today, right now, we're going to do a little bit about bridling. I'll run through the parts of the bridle once it's on him. But mostly what I want to show you guys is the power of treats. So I love the Mrs. Pastor's Horse cookies. I feel like they're the best cookies on the market. Yes, they're a little more expensive, but I think they're the best tasting cookies on the market, and the horses love them. They're very easy to work with. They don't go bad like apples and carrots. So when I first start bridling these guys, I give them the 2 Mrs. Pastor's cookies, and then I put the bridle on. And what happens after a couple weeks or a short period of time is that the horse or pony equates the bit with cookies, and they can't wait. They can't wait to put that bit in their mouth. They love the bit because they equate it with cookies. Now, eventually, you can stop giving them the cookies if you want because the training's already been done and they can't wait to open their mouth for the bit. But I like to sweeten the deal. So my guys do get 2 Mrs. Pastor's Horse cookies when I put their bridles on. Now, I know he's being obnoxious. Don't think I don't know that he's being obnoxious. That's my fault because I have the cookies in my hand. Normally, I wouldn't. I would have walked in, I would have given the cookies, pulled the halter off, put the bridle on. But instead I got distracted and talked all about Mr. Twirl. So here we go for the beginning of our little bridle section. Are we still in a good place? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. So for bridling, just pop the halter off and give him 2 cookies. Okay? And just let him chew for a moment. Now he's wearing a hunter bridle. But I want you to see, I'm going to show you different ways of putting the bridle on, but I want you to see the power of the cookies. So because of the cookies, you can just dangle the bit in front of their mouth and they just take it. And it's marvelous because you have a horse or a pony that looks forward to the bit. And all of of you, I'm positive, have run up against horses and ponies that won't take a bit. And in a minute, I'm going to show you what I call the baby horse style of putting a bridle on. That will help you so much with the horses that don't want to take a bit. But if you give them the 2 cookies and they have that idea in their head, you can just hover the bit in front of their mouths and they just gobble up the bit, and it becomes a really, really good experience. And I'm going to do it with the rest of my 4 sale horses for you guys today, just so that you can see it's not just twirl. All of my guys take the bit like that. And even my horses that come to me and won't take a bit, after I've worked with them for a couple weeks, they can't wait. They can't wait to take the bit. Okay, so while we have twirl, let's talk about what I just put on his face. So because twirl is going to be a hunter pony, I put a hunter bridle on him. All right, the hunter bridles, I'm just going to toss that over there for now. The hunter bridles are usually brown, pretty much always brown, and they usually have pretty stitching on them. Okay, I don't know if you can see, Anna, can you see the pretty stitching on the brow and on the noseband? This is a very, very basic hunter bridle, so, you know, it's nothing fancy schmancy. I love these bridles. They come from Dover Saddlery. They're Dover Saddlery's version. This is a cob, and it barely fits him because he's a pony. It fits him at the very, very top, but it's a cob, so it's a smaller horse size. The prices are so amazing. They're like, it's like between $60 and $80 for this wonderful bridle, and it comes with the hunter reins. Hunter reins are braided. All right, that's very typical of the hunter reins. I'll show you when I do my other bridles. When I do my dressage bridle, the reins are different. Comes with the reins. Pretty awesome quality of the leather. Really nice, really good looking. Fits everybody great. Somewhere around 80 bucks. You don't have to spend 400 bucks. You don't. You can spend between 60 and 80 bucks and get a fabulous bridle. Okay? So this is a hunter bridle because he's going to be a hunter pony. I'll go ahead and close the noseband, and then with Miss Anna, we're going to just go through the parts of the bridle, and I'm only going to do that once because they're the same no matter what bridle you're wearing. So we took a moment just for, you know, technical stuff. So the bridle, parts of the bridle. I know I ran through parts of the saddle, not every little dang part, but the big parts, the parts that every horse person should know about the bridle. Okay, and remember this is the hunter bridle. So the crown piece is the part that goes over the top of their head. So over the pole, remember we talked about parts of the horse, why we need to know the name pole, the word pole. The crown piece goes over the pole, like a crown. This is the brow band. Most of you know about the brow band because you can order any kind of brow band now. You can get them in mega bling, and I mean mega bling, total like dazzle your eyes bling. Or you can just get them nice and simple like this with the stitching. You can get any bridle and put a different brow band on it. So you can order the brow bands by themselves, and you can have, you know, if you have a specific color for your horse or whatever it is, you can order a separate brow band and put it on your bridle. So crown piece, brow band, this is called a cavesson. With the English bridles, they're usually just a cavesson. It's just a noseband. Just a noseband, we call it a cavesson. I know he's working the bit. It could be that we think his teeth need to be done, so that could be part of it. I do have an appointment with the vet to have his teeth done. Also, his eyes, since he came to us, have been really weepy. You're going to see me wiping his eyes a lot. They've been really weepy. And just FYI, you guys, about veterinary stuff, if your horse's eyes are weepy, and even though you've got a fly mask on and the eyes are protected and they stay weepy, sometimes it's because the eye ducts, the tear ducts, are blocked. All right. So just a little veterinary sidebar. If you've got a horse's eyes that just keep weeping and weeping and weeping, and it's not the flies and it's not the dust and it's not the smoke, they could have blocked tear ducts. So the vet comes, and they do need to sedate them. I believe they always sedate them, and they unblock their tear ducts, their eye ducts. And so I do have an appointment with the vet to come to do his eye ducts and to do his sweet teeth. Just a sidebar. Okay, crown piece, brow band, cavesson. If you want to call it a nose band, fine, but it's a cavesson. These are the cheek pieces because they run down his cheek. Remember the parts of the horse? They run down his cheek. So isn't he cute? Cute pony. One of the cutest ponies I've ever met in our program. We only had one other pony that I think was as cute as this. His name was Walter. But this, I think, is about as cute as it gets. These are the cheek pieces, and this is the throat latch. And that's all you guys gotta know. It's so easy. It's crown piece, brow band, cavesson / nose band, cheek pieces, throat latch. It's a no-brainer. Western bridles pretty much never have a nose band. Western bridles, I'm just going to say never have a nose band. Sometimes Western trainers will put a drop nose band on to teach the horse to keep their mouth closed, but pretty much across the board, Western bridles do not have nose bands. I'll try to put a Western bridle. Are any of my horses Western? I think I'll put a Western bridle on Legacy so you guys can see what the Western bridles look like. And then my other guys will get dressage bridles. This particular bit is called a full cheek. I love the full cheeks. Have we talked about bits yet? Did we do a section on? We'll do a section on bits. So this is called a full cheek. They're my favorite. I love them. They're really wonderful for teaching the horses how to steer, and they give you a lot more control over the horse's whole face. So when you pull on this rein, it not only brings his nose around, but it kind of brings the whole side of his face around. I feel like the full cheeks stabilize the bits. For me. I really like the feeling. Plus, if you really have to pull a horse around, you're not going to pull the bit into their mouth. So I'm really big on the full cheeks these days. For the dressage horses, I use a German training snaffle. But for anybody that you're having trouble turning, or any youngsters that are learning how to steer, I highly recommend the full cheeks. And I'm going to morph into a little thing about bits in a moment. So this is going to be bridles and bits, because while we're working on bridles, I might as well be teaching you about bits. So we're going to do both today in this little section. That might be all we do today. I'm not sure yet. Okay, so Mr. Twirl is wearing a hunter bridle for a pony. It's a cob size. It's still a little too big. Really, a pony bridle would fit him better. And he's wearing a standard old boring full cheek. So when I pull this off, so when you take the bridle off, undo the nose band, cavesson, undo the throat latch. Okay, now this is really, really important. Do not yank the bit out of their mouths. Horse Comfort 101. Did you see my nails? One of the reasons I had Anna come down today is because I did my nails in Clarity Blue. This is Clarity Blue. So I have not been doing my nails in blue. I've been very conservative with my nail color. We've been doing lilac and mauve and lavender. But for some reason I decided to go do Clarity Blue, and I called Anna and I said, you gotta do a video segment because my fingers are Clarity Blue and they might never be Clarity Blue again. So today's all about my Clarity Blue nails. I know my nails are ridiculous. I know it. I got it. I'm super conservative. I'm allowed to show my personality somewhere. I'm showing it with my Clarity Blue nails with sparkles. When you take the bridle off, don't yank it out of their mouths. Let the horse spit it out. Okay, so take it from the crown piece and just let him spit it out. So just lower it very gradually so it doesn't clunk his teeth, and it's off. And he doesn't need more treats because I just gave him 2. And I love you, and you're precious. And there it is. There's our first horse with the hunter bridle, and we're going to go on to the next 4. Okay, so to continue on our segment about bits. So we, I mean, it's a blog. It's a blog. We roll with it. I get these ideas and we roll with it. So I was going to do a little section on hunter versus jumper, but instead we're going to focus on bridles and bits. It's a good thing for us to focus on today. And proper putting the bridle on and taking it off, and my pearls of wisdom to that, and having a horse that wants to take the bit. But this is my new tack room. I love it, love it, love it. My stuff is here. I just wanted to point out some of the bridles and some of the bits. This will be really helpful to you guys. If you can pan down on the bits, you're going to see everything I have is a snaffle. Everything I have is just the bit part if you want. Everything I have is a very simple snaffle, a very comfortable snaffle, bits that feel really, really comfortable in the horse's mouth, okay? And so I know, I want to talk a little about this, guys. I know in the hunter tack rooms and the jumper tack rooms, you're going to have much harder bits. And some of them are twists, and some of them, are Pelhams or Kimberwicks or bridles that give you a lot more power and strength. And I know for the jumping horses, sometimes that's necessary because your seat's out of the saddle. And so you might need more strength for your bit because your seat's out of the saddle, so you can't really slow the horse down with your seat so much. Are we still okay? Okay, good. I know a lot of the Western people use harsher bits. I know a lot of them will use twists. They'll use double wires. They'll use all sorts of stronger, trying to pick and choose my adjectives so I'm politically correct. They use stronger bits. I get that. I get that. So in the hunter jumper world, I get that. In the Western world, I get that. I would really, 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 really like it if the Western trainers only used bits like this. That would make me so happy if we could eliminate any of the twists and any of the tougher bits. That would make me really happy. Also the shanked bits, I don't have any. As you can see, I don't have any shanked bits. Now, if you're a dressage person, by the time you get to the FEI levels to Pre-St. George, you have to be in a double bridle. I get that. And when we take a break, I'll go get my double bridle. And so why don't we take a break now and I'll go get my double bridle. So let's talk about dressage bits, all right? So dressage bits, as best as you can, try to stay with the German training snaffles. This is a German training snaffle with a loose ring, meaning the ring slips, all right? This is standard dressage equipment. They're wonderful. When they created this, we called it a walnut in the middle. It's really fantastic because you can see how it sits on the horse's palate. It sits on the horse's palate and tongue really, really nicely. It's very, very comfortable. This is our most standard, wonderful dressage bit. All right, so let's roll back a little. When I'm teaching a horse how to steer, say I'm doing my first 30, 60, 90 days, I put them in either this, where's my jointed one? It's hidden, I'll get it, or this, all right? I'll hold it up. Here's my other one, fabulous. Okay, so when I'm teaching, so Dressage 101, this is probably the bit you're going to want to end up using until you go to a double bridle, which happens as you're approaching Pre-St. George. Most people never get there. Okay, that's the FEI levels. That's the international levels. German training snaffle. Here's another one. See this one? Here's another standard German training snaffle with a loose ring. Here's another one. Standard German training snaffle with a loose ring. Love it. When I'm training the youngsters, I like to put them in a Happy Mouth. Happy Mouth is a whole line of bits that came out, I don't know, I'm old, 20 years ago. And we love them, and all of us love them so much that Happy Mouth as a company made pretty much every damn bit you can imagine in a happy mouth. They look like this. So we definitely support happy mouths. We love them, and you can get pretty much any bit in a happy mouth. We love them. So when I'm starting a youngster and I really want them to like the bit, the happy mouths taste good, they feel good. I do start the horses in happy mouths, and I love the full cheeks. Here's another. I love the full cheeks when you're teaching a horse how to steer. They're really fantastic because they influence the whole side of the horse's mouth rather than just the mouth. And when you're teaching a horse how to steer, sometimes they don't quite get it. And if you use a bit like this, the ring ends up getting pulled through and into their mouths. Full cheek, it won't happen. When you start off a youngster, my very favorite bit is this one. So what they've done is they incorporated the full cheek with the happy mouth with the link in the middle. It doesn't get better than this. When you're starting a youngster, in my opinion, not only a youngster, when you're starting a horse, in my opinion, this is the best starting bit. They love them. Okay? Then if you want, if you need a little more, you can go to this full cheek. So this full cheek, as you can see, doesn't have the link in the middle. This is what I call an old-fashioned full cheek. It just has the single. So you can see the difference with how it hangs in their palate. See how much softer this one is? This link allows it to sit on their tongue, whereas this one pokes against the tongue. See? This gives you a lot more control. All right? A lot more leverage, because when you pull back, it points down on their tongue, whereas this one is the softest and the most lovely. All right? So you can go from this to this if you want. A lot of horses are really happy working in this. This is what I had on the pony Twirl, except for it was like this. Regular full cheek without the happy mouth part. Okay? So Twirl, you saw, here it is. Here's Twirl's hunter bridle. And you see he's just wearing a normal old-fashioned, I call them old-fashioned, full cheek with a single joint in the middle. I love them. They're wonderful. They don't have to be fat. The diameter, the width is perfectly fine. All right? So we've got your first starting off baby horse bit. Then, oops, then we can evolve if you want to this bit, perfectly fine. And then if you want, you can evolve to this bit, perfectly fine. And then if you're going to stay in the hunter world, or the jumper world, you can stay with this forever. Or you can go type B of the hunters, which is a D ring. I don't have any because I don't like the look of them. I don't have any Ds. I don't like the look of them. I much prefer a full cheek look. All right? If you're going to evolve into having a dressage type of horse, you'll probably want to go to a German training snaffle. All right, so while we're talking about the dressage, if you are fortunate enough to be able to work up through all the levels, so pre-training level, training, first, second, third, fourth. Look at about a year for each level. Look at the fact that there's all sorts of things that will prevent you and your horse from going up the next level, But if you're able to keep going up the levels, you're going to get into the FEI levels, the pre-St. George levels. You have to wear a double bridle. It's tradition. You have to wear a double bridle. So once you get into the FEI levels, you have to wear a double bridle, and I just went and grabbed mine. So here's my double bridle. All right. Now, this needs to be over there. Okay, so it's dusty because I don't have any horses that I'm riding a double bridle in. You can ride an FEI horse, if you can ride them in a simple snaffle all the way up through and do your piaffe and your passage and your canter pirouettes and your one tempies and the whole dang thing in a snaffle, rock on, more power to you, right? But if you're going to compete, you got to be in a double. So this is our standard double, guys. This is a dressage bridle. It's a double bridle. Both bits go in the horse's mouth. Very bizarre, I know, but it's true. All right? So this is called a Berdune. It's a snaffle, but you call it a Berdune because the ring is smaller, because you have all this equipment. You know what I mean? So the ring on a Berdune is smaller than the ring on a regular loose ring snaffle. It doesn't have to be a loose ring, but I think this is the most traditional and I like it the most. This is called a Berdune. Now, if you have a pony or a smaller horse, you can use the Berdune as their snaffle. And it looks really nice because the rings are smaller, all right? And then this is the curb part. So they call this a Weymouth, if you want the fancy name for it, or you can call it a curb. All right, this section's going to take a few minutes, so if you're not a dressage person, fast forward. But if you are a dressage person, this is going to take a moment because I want to talk about the curbs or the Weymouths. So you use a regular cavesson with the double bridle, all right? Just a regular noseband, all right? And this is called the Weymouth, and it has a chain. Okay, so this is the quote-unquote severe part of the double bridle. Anytime you have a shank, it's much more influential and much more severe. That's why none of my bits are shanked bits. You have to ride in a double. So what I do is I choose the Weymouth, the curb, that is the least severe, all right? Let me tell you how you know. This is called the port. You want as low a port as possible. The higher the port, the more severe. There you go. How easy is that? So in the Western bridles or in the double bridles, the ports sometimes go way up to here. They're just monsters. The higher the port, the more severe. Stick with the low port if you can. The longer the shank, the more severe. Stick with the shortest shank you can find. Those are hard and fast rules across the board. Western people, pay attention. A lot of the Western riders do ride in shanked bits. A lot of the Western disciplines require a shanked bit to compete. You gotta have it. A lot of Western riders feel like you can't really ride a horse one-handed properly unless you're riding them in what I call a full bridle, a shanked bit. I try not to. The shorter the shank, the less severe. The longer the shank, the more severe. There you go, you have it. Across the board, the lower the port, the less severe. The shorter the shank, the less severe. And it does have a curb chain. And it's just part of riding with a curb bit. So when I'm not going to put the double on anybody because none of my horses right now are wearing doubles, but it's a standard dressage bridle and the double bit, meaning the Berdune with the Weymouth, and double reins. So you're riding with 4 reins, 2 reins on each side. I'm not going to show you how to carry them. It's not important right now. It's not important for my training program, so I'm not going to talk about that. If we end up with an upper level horse that's in a double, I'll talk about holding 4 reins, all right? So there you go, there's your double bridle. So this is for the most advanced of the dressage horses, and if you can go all the way up and through Grand Prix with a German training snaffle or with a regular snaffle bit, if you have to compete, use the least severe bit that you possibly can. And, oh, just another tip about the doubles. If you want, you can just ride on the snaffle. So what I do when I'm riding on a double is I connect the horse on the snaffle and then I try to leave the curb rein as loose as possible. So really, even though the curb is in their mouth, you're really riding on the Berdune. Prefer it. Okay, so there's that. Dressage bit. This is for my big guy, my big draft guy. This is a simple, as I already told you, a simple full cheek, but it's a 6-inch, all right? So here's going to be helpful to you guys also. The standard horse, standard quarter horse, standard horse is going to wear a 5-inch. That measures from here to here, 5 inches, okay? When you order a bit, they're going to ask what size. 5-inch is standard. 5 1/4, 5 1/2 when you start getting into sort of the bigger mouth horses, 6 inches for my big half draft horse, all right? Rarely will you need anything bigger than 6-inch. You get into the draft horse sizes. We don't need to. 6-inch, if you've got a big mouth horse or a half draft, a 6-inch is going to suit you. All right? And then you can get into the prettier brow bands. You can see this is Dom's. So you went in with the prettier brow band. This is also a cavesson. This is another type of baby horse bit. Instead of going with the full cheek, you can go with the loose ring, all right? But don't forget that I'm really not using this bit much at all anymore because I'm so hooked on the full cheeks. Because you can see that if you have to pull hard enough laterally to the side, these rings will slip into their mouths. Whereas with this, you have no worries about that. Plus, it gives you much more stability. It really stabilizes the bit in the horse's mouth. I love them. Okay, double bridle, baby horse dressage, but this is a dressage bridle. This is a very traditional dressage bridle. This dressage bridle is also a cob. It also came from Dover. We love it. It's the equivalent of the hunter bridle. All right. It's made by Dover. I think they're called a Suffolk. It's going to be somewhere around $80. This is the hunter one we have on pony. Comes with the braided reins, hunter reins. Fabulous bridle. We love it. This is the equivalent in a dressage bridle. Dressage bridles are usually black. Dressage tack is usually black. Hunter tack is usually brown. Jumper tack is usually brown. Western tack, working Western tack is usually brown. All right. The dressage tack is usually black, padded. So we have the padded brow band, the padded cavesson. This is actually a flash nose band. So you see this little deal here. This is called a flash nose band, and it has a strap that goes around below as well and helps to hold the horse's mouth closed. I rarely will use what I call the bottom part of the flash. I usually just pull it off. If you know you're never going to use it again, you can always cut off on one of these. There it is. I cut it off. So if you know you're never going to use the bottom part of the flash, you can cut that little guy off. You can cut this little ring off. It's totally fine. Or you can leave it on there, and that's totally fine as well. And if you ever need help keeping the horse's mouth closed, you can always use the bottom part of the flash. I try not to. We talked about this with Dom in the Dom video that in the olden days, not in the olden days, but a bit ago, there was a fad where everybody was trying to crank the horse's mouths closed. And that's out of favor now, I think, I hope. And so we're really not using the bottom part of the flash as much. But the bottom part of the flash is standard dressage equipment. So if you see a horse going around in a German training snaffle and the bottom part of the flash is on there, it's totally okay. It's very traditionally dressage. If you go to a dressage show, you're going to see that. Absolutely, positively. We already ran through the parts. So crown piece, brow band, cavesson / nose band, cheek pieces, and throat latch. Super easy. Now this is a dressage bridle, so it comes with my favorite dressage reins. All right, these are canvas, and I love them. I love that there's stoppers, so you know if your reins are even, because you know on both reins you're on the second keeper, you're on the second stopper. So I much prefer these to the braided reins. I much prefer the dressage reins. Now you can get these ones are canvas, these are canvas, leather. You can get them in leather, okay? So these are also dressage reins, all right? So you see how these are leather with the little keepers. These are canvas with the little keepers. You can also get ones that are rubber, mostly for cross country, for when you know your horse is going to get wet. They have rubber ones. So I don't use the rubber ones because I'm not riding cross country. But you can see for Dom's bridle, she has the leather ones. It's up to you. Do you prefer to carry the canvas or do you prefer to carry the leather? I like the canvas because it's stickier. You can really lock into it better. English bridle, dressage bridle, advanced dressage horse bridle, FEI dressage horse bridle that you need to show in the double Western. All right, here we go. The Western bridles. You can get a lot of different types of Western bridles. I like this one. All right, this is my go-to for a Western bridle. All right, I have the baby horse full cheek on it. I start a lot of horses in this bridle. You can pick and choose what you want it to look like. I like the Western bridles that have the little doodads on the forehead. I think it looks pretty. I really like it. So, and usually they have a little tip of silver. I love that. I love the conchos. You can go with whatever concho you want. I bought these conchos separately and put them on this bridle. I really recommend you go with buckles. These days, people are going with Chicago screws. Okay, I get it, but sometimes they unscrew and you end up with your bridle falling apart. Also, when you put your bridle together, you have to have a screwdriver. And anytime you adjust it, you have to have a screwdriver. You can't just adjust it. So kind of a pain in the watusi. Then the newest thing that they've come up with are just thin little leather pieces. And you just tie a knot. That makes me really nervous. What if the knot comes out? Or what if I want to take the knot out? Is it then stuck closed because it's leather? I like buckles. Buckles are great. Buckles are fabulous. They're easy. They're great looking. It's really easy to adjust the bridle. It's really easy to change the bit over. I love buckles. You kind of have to search a little bit for a Western bridle that has buckles. But they're out there, I promise. I promise they're out there. Brown. You can go with as much bling as you like. I don't like the look of the split ear. I like this type of bridle for a horse. If you like the look of the split ear, fine. No noseband. See what I mean? Very, very rarely do you have a Western bridle with a noseband. I don't know that any of them come with nosebands. I think that's considered a training device for the Western people. So there is that. And then I'm just going to run to the tack room and get one more thing to show you guys, and then we're done with our bridle section. Okay, so I just ran to my other tack room. So I forgot I had a pony bridle. So I'm going to switch the pony over from this, which is a cob, and you can see I'm always at the very, very, very tippy top. And I don't have any more holes to go up, and it's still almost too big. So here's a standard bridle for a pony. So I'm going to switch them over into this pony bridle. I'll switch the full cheek over. This has the baby horse bit in it. Oh, it's a Berdune. Baby horse Berdune. Okay, so you see how little the ring is compared to the standard ring. See how tiny? See how teeny tiny the ring is? And this looks really great on a pony. You don't kind of get overwhelmed by the ring size. So maybe I'll leave this on the pony. I'm not sure. I didn't really realize that this was my pony bit. So pony bit on a pony bridle, that makes sense. Now let's just run through this bridle quickly. Hunter, you see it's a hunter bridle, right? It's pretty easy to see. It's brown. It's got the braided reins, correct? Not quite as pretty as the Dover bridle. You don't have the stitching. Oh, you do. It's just old. There is stitching on there, guys. You just can't see it because the bridle's so old. And there's stitching here. Okay, so there was stitching on the noseband and the brow band, but you can't see it because the bridle's really old. All right. The last thing about this cute bridle, buckle. But down here, you have these old-fashioned little hookities. And we always used to use these on our horses. We didn't have buckles. So these little doodads, all right, you sometimes see them often on the hunter bridles. Here's a pony club tip. A lot of people struggle with opening these, all right? And so Anna's going to show you up close, showing my beautiful nails. The pony club tip to getting these out is to push down from here, okay? So if you push from here, it pops it out of the little slot. You don't have to fight with it. And it comes right off. These look like that. All right? And then you can just undo it. If you yank and yank and yank and yank at it, it can be really tricky. So there's a good pony club tip for you guys. Often the hunter bridles have these, although I much prefer the buckles. Up here they have buckles. Don't ask me why. And down here we have these. And on the reins, oh yeah, look what's on the reins. On the reins we have the doodads. Okay, I don't know what they call those. So to put this back on, oh my goodness, I don't even know where I was. Okay, so let's find it. So to go back on here, right, you go through. Now here's a really good tip. Put this through. the keeper already. Then push it down, find the end, pop it in. A lot of times you'll end up fighting with these. And if you use that pony club, I call it a pony club tip because I learned it in pony club a million years ago. It's really helpful. Push down, it'll pop out. All right. And so with the reins, so you can see these reins didn't initially go with this bridle, right? But same game. If I pull and pull and pull, it can be really frustrating. But even with my obnoxious, ridiculous long nails, you can still see my tip. If I push here, look, pops right out. You're not fighting with it. You know what I mean? Done deal. Then to put it back in, and like I said, these reins do not go with this bridle, see? The leather doesn't match. So you can see that that trick works across the board. And then push it through here, already put it in that. All right? Then slip it down, pop it in. It'll help you guys so much, and it's a great tip to not fighting with these little doodads. All right, so there's the hunter bridle, but the main reason, so I'm going to put this over the pony bridle because I want to remember to put the pony bridle on the pony because it's going to fit him so much better. See how much smaller it is rather than the cob. All right, so I'm going to switch that over. What I wanted you guys to see was, you don't need that, this one. This is really awesome. So you can buy these from the Western tack stores. You can buy these from the Western tack stores and they're fabulous. Look at, just snap right on. They're so awesome. So I consider this a Western piece of tack. So if you're going to be using the same bridle on a bunch of different horses, or you're trying out bits for the same horse or whatever it is, it's so great. They've got a snap. You just snap the bit on and it's done. And then the throat latch is really marvelous as well. It just attaches with a little snap. So, in my opinion, these are worth their weight in gold because they're so easy. Clearly, I don't have the reins on it, but they're just so darn easy. I love these. So, I just wanted to show you guys this last piece of equipment that just makes life so much easier. And I would consider this a Western bridle. Okay, and I think that wraps up my lecture about bridles and bits. I think we covered it really, really well. I'm going to consider that a wrap. See you guys next time. Okay, so this is Sebastian. You guys all remember Sebastian. You've seen him like this with me, hugging on me. Okay, we're continuing with the, the pony's trying to get to the camera. You can't see it. We're continuing with the bit, with the bridling, so you guys can see that with my technique, all of them can't wait to take the bit, all right? Not just twirl, but all of them can't wait to take the bit. So as we go to Sebastian, when I put the bridle on, to Mrs. Pastor's horse cookies go in. You can throw the reins over if you want. It's totally fine. Totally fine to throw the reins over. No problems at all. And then your horse can't leave if they want to. He hasn't been groomed yet, everybody. He hasn't been groomed yet. Once the cookies are in, just show them the bit. I mean, how great is that, really? And they can't wait to take the bit. Now, if you're hard and fast against cookies, this becomes a little tricky. Maybe just use cookies for the bit. Or if your horse already likes the bit, fabulous. Wonderful. Done deal. But if you're fighting with the horse about the bit, I highly recommend that at least for a period of time, you give them a few treats. When you put the bit in, they can't wait to take the bit. We already went through the parts of the bridle. This is a standard, well, this is a flash. Remember, this is a dressage bridle. This is a flash noseband. We're just not using the bottom part of the flash. All right? When I close the cavesson or the slash noseband, I just want it to be snug enough that it doesn't bounce on them, but not so snug that it feels restrictive. And then the throat latch, and then you just close the throat latch. And there you go. Don't forget to tuck everything in. Don't forget to tuck everything in. It shouldn't look like that. It shouldn't look like that. I'm going to really drill it into you guys. It shouldn't look like that. Take a moment and tuck everything in. I have a blog post that talks about tuck it in. Tuck everything in. There's no reason for it to be flapping about. One, it looks terrible. Two, there is a possibility it could pop off. I mean, if it's not closed, even at the top, if the horse pops their head in just the right way, it might pop off. Tuck everything in, please. With your halters, tuck the crown piece in. Tuck everything in, please, please, please. So here's your standard bridle. Oh, I know what I forgot to talk about is the bit fit. Oh, that's crooked. Okay, so, all right, I forgot about this part, you guys. Once you have the bridle on, make sure that the brow band is not pinching anywhere, and make sure it's not crooked. Ick, no. Ick, no. It should be straight. All right? So what I do is I put the bridle on. I'm trying to stay out of the way of the camera. But I put the bridle on, and then I wiggle the brow around and make sure it's not pinching his ears, and I make sure it's perfectly straight across. All right? Same with the noseband. When you put the noseband on, it shouldn't look like that. Slide it. Get it straight and even, and then put it on. Snug, but not tight. All right? The last two parts actually, so much to talk about. But this will sew this up forever. So we're doing a forever video. I won't ever have to change it because I'm covering everything. Last two things. One, throat latch. All right? 4 fingers. You're my beautiful nail showing off. 4 fingers. All right? For a dressage bridle. Because the horse, when it rounds off and flexes, the throat latch fills up. The throat latch on the horse fills up. You do not want the throat latch on the bridle to feel restrictive and tight. You don't want anything to discourage a horse from wanting to round off and go on the bit. So that's going to be very loose, and it's just going to dangle. And it's totally fine if it just dangles. There's not a lot of use for these anyway. The throat latch really, if you're jumping a horse and you come off and you grab the crown piece and you pull the crown piece off with you as you're hitting the ground, sometimes the throat latch will keep the bridle on. But as for a dressage bridle, 4 fingers, please, loose. All right? The Western and the English people go much snugger. The Western people usually go there. The English people usually go there. I don't care what style of riding it is. I like them loose for when you round them off. Okay? That's that, the bit. So let's back up one, little Mr. Man. So just for you viewers, I just walked in here and put his bridle on. So we haven't groomed him. You know, I didn't pick out the stall. I just stuck the bridle on so you can see how nicely they take the bridle when you train them my way. The bit. So you want 1/4 of an inch. So make sure the bit is sitting evenly in their mouth. Very important. And you want 1/4 of an inch. No, you can't have my fingers. You want 1/4 of an inch from the ring to the corner of their mouth. Okay, you want about 1/4 of an inch there. All right? So this bit fits them fine. This is I don't know if this is a 5-inch or if it's a 5 1/4 and a 5 1/2. I'm not sure, guys. I'm not sure if this is a 5 1/4, or a 5 1/2. But for it to fit properly, there'll be 1/4 of an inch between the corner of his mouth and the hole that the ring goes through. All right? So one more time, taking the bridle off. Let them spit it out. Don't leave the straps closed. Undo the throat latch. Undo the cavesson/noseband, grab the crown, pop it over his cute little ears, and then lower it. Let him spit it out. If you hear a clank, you're not doing it right. Don't clank their teeth when the bridle comes off. You want the horse to want to wear the bridle. We want the horse to be comfortable. Right? So don't make them uncomfortable by yanking the bit out and clanking their teeth. It's going to discourage them from wanting to wear the bit tomorrow. So let them spit it out. Done. Next horsey. Okay, I wanted you guys to see how to put on what I call a war bridle. All right. So this is Dom. You recognize him. Our big, gorgeous warm blood, our Dutch warm blood boy that we love so much. He's a dream. And this is his bridle. So I'm just going to show you guys how nicely he takes the bit as well. And then I'm going to show you about the crank nose band that his bridle came with, which I don't really like. But war bridles. So say you have your scarf. Or, okay, let's look at it this way. Say you're driving down a country road and a horse is loose. And it's walking along the road. And you're thinking, oh, S-H-I-T. I got to catch this horse. Well, you don't have a halter. You don't have a bridle. You don't have anything with you. But you got to catch them, right? I recommend a war bridle. So I'm going to show you guys how to do it with the reins. But you don't have to have reins. You can have a leash for your dog. What's in the car? I've got a scarf. I've got an extra shirt. I've got a jacket. I've got whatever it is. It serves as a war bridle. All right? So you catch the horse. You tell them they're okay. You put the scarf or the shirt or your dog's leash or whatever you happen to have around their neck. All right? Wrap this around the nose and close your hand here. All right? Works great with a scarf. Works great with anything you've got in the car. It goes over their ears. This one, the one closest to you, goes around the schnozzle, and the handle is here. Insta war bridle. They're fabulous. And you can lead them as long and as far as you want them to go. So if I want Mr. Dom to come with me, I got it. Here he is. All right. I'm not going to take the time to show you how it is with a shirt or a scarf or a doggy leash. It doesn't matter. Anything that serves as, I've taken a shirt off my body and used it. Simple Simon. Slip it over their head. Correct? Well, that's not helpful to me at all. And there's your war bridle. So, good thing for you guys to know, because how many of us are driving around with a halter in our car? If there's an emergency, put a war bridle on the horse, and they steer great. They're wonderful. I can do whatever I want with him now. All right? Okay, war bridle. Most people don't know about the war bridle, but there it is. So Dom is sporting his new winter coat, which is a gorgeous liver. Look at how dark he is. Again, they haven't been groomed yet. I just wandered in to put bridles on. So, but he's turning this amazing, super, super dark liver chestnut. And the reason he's digging around is I put the treats in my pocket because it's part of my technique. So, go in. You can throw the reins over their neck. Stop. Cookies shouldn't be in the pocket. Give them the cookies. Okay, to Mrs. Pastures. Wait a moment for them to chew it up. And then show them the bit. Oh, I know what I need to show you guys. And it just slips right in. Okay? So you see, it's not just one horse. All of my horses take the bits like that. So I'm proving that all of my horses take the bit like that. And then the same thing, we don't have to do it again. But make sure the brow band is straight, not pinching his ears. Make sure the nose band is straight. Very, very quickly, let's talk about this particular nose band, because remember I told you it's a crank. So he came to me with this crank nose band. They are all the rage right now, or at least they were for the dressage bridles. I will search for a dressage bridle that just has a regular cavesson or a flash nose band. Take the bottom part of the flash off. I don't like the cranks because look at all this extra leather. It's just sort of a pain in the watoozie. So the point of the crank is so that you can crank the nose band closed to keep the horse's mouth closed. But we don't really do that anymore, or at least we prefer not to. So there's just a lot of extra moving parts. All right, so this has to go through a little ring. You don't have to look at it. Then it has to come around here. Then it has to buckle through this. I would have been long done with my other nose band by now. Then we tuck this in. But you have all this extra stuff going on, and most likely what's going to happen is that's going to shift. And it's going to end up like that. And it's kind of ugly. So, no reason to use a crank. You don't need a crank. Get a regular noseband. Because the bridle came with the crank, I left it on. Alright? So I just undid the crank. And he has this pretty brow band. But you can go with any brow band you like. Now, I think I'll show you with Legacy how to put the bridle on baby horse style. So until they're trained like this and can't wait to take the bit, I want to show you how to put the bridle on baby horse style. All right, I can do that. Oh, so let's taking it off again. We can take this off his neck if you want. Lower it. Pull the crown over the ears. Lower it. He spit it right out. Okay, I told him they're wonderful.